technology and human life cannot be separated. Society has a cyclical codependence on technology. The way we use technology is that people depend on their lives on technology, such in their daily life and needs. And this will cause a demand where technology keeps on rising. So humans use technology to travel, to communicate, to learn, to do business, and to live in comfort. However, technology has caused us and resulted the pollution of the environment, and it has also caused a serious threat to our lives and society. This calls for the proper use of technology. Technology impacts the environment, the people, the society as a whole. The way we use technology determines if its impact are positive or negative. So, for example, we can use a corn to make an ethanol, and this ethanol can be used as a fuel. Fuel can be used to run machines and cars, which will increase the output of manufacturing industries at a lower cost. So this will be the example of the positive impact. However, if we decide to shift large quantities of corn to fuel production from food production, humans will be left with no food, and this will cause food hunger, which even is worse situation. So this will be the negative impact. So, new technology creates new products, and new products creates new business. So, during the 1990s, the world of photography started to see a shift from film photography to digital photography. There were three big names in the field of film photography. Then were the Fujifilm, Konica, and the Kodak. The change in technology affected this business greatly. Experts state that Fujifilm was more successful in adapting to new digital technology, and today it manufactures digital cameras and lenses. Though Kodak manufactured digital cameras during 90s and 2000, it did not see a great success on it. And now it has joined hands with Flexotronics to stay in the main. Konica, on the other hand, got merged to Minolta in 2003. And today, the company is into manufacturing printers and copiers. So this is the wonderful example of how the technology can impact the very existence of the technology helps develop business and strategies. So the transformation in the way how data is collected, retrieved, and utilized has been helpful for companies to come up with the groundbreaking business strategies. So the development in the information technology has made it possible for business to study the customer behavior and develop strategies accordingly. So technology has not only made it possible to collect and store data, but organizations are able to analyze available data to come up with the meaningful conclusions and make informed decisions.
Research and development, or the R&D, is the effort given to researching areas like new technologies, ideas, or business practices, and using that research to develop a product, a process, or a system. R&D expenses are usually the highest for industrial, technological, healthcare, and pharmaceutical firms. In fact, some businesses or some companies reinvest significant portion of their profits to research and development. As the case may be the technological companies, since they see this as an investment to their continued growth. Research and development can lead to innovative apps, improved practices, working prototypes, and new skills. But the problem is, customers aren't paying you to do the research and development. At the same time, the outcome for this isn't always cost effective. Well, research and development is more than just a gamble on a new idea. It's a way to find innovative solutions to your customers' related problems. Without research and development, we'd be unable to adapt to the constantly changing technological landscape. R&D is what keeps you ahead of the curve. It helps you grow your expertise and get part of the latest technologies to better tackle ever challenges given and to stand out as leaders in their field. So even though customers aren't paying you to do research and development, remember that if the business that do invest in research and development are best prepared to serve the customers when the time comes.
Product design and development. When we think of a product, we think of it if it's feasible before we develop it into design, and then becomes a finished product. But there are lots of various things that needs to be considered before we design and develop it. First, we have there the needs. The needs of the product signifies how the product will compete in the market. We have there also the designs, because people are very much into designs. They look at the designs of the product before deciding to buy it. Of course, we have there the materials and the processes. The materials and the processes that we are going to have in designing and developing a product needs to be considered boldly, because it can mainly affect the pricing rates of our finished products. We also have the launching of the products and its retirement. If you plan to be first in the market in the new category, you need to consider in how long you can sustain your position in the market. Well, let's look at it this way. Last year, Samsung had released their phone model, which is, we call it the S8, and later a month this year, they also released the S9. Alright? So if you have seen the S8 phone, it has no edge in it, right? But if you're going to have it compared to the S9, it has no edge at all. Like, it's full screen. So, you can see there that the Samsung had invested more in designs. Why? Because people are looking into the edges of their phones. They are more likely to buy phones that can have full screen look, just like the iPods. Just like the businessmen. Almost all of the businessmen use the S9 as what I've observed. And for the buyers of the S8, they're more likely the students who can afford it. And of course, the pricing of the product. The pricing of the S8 starts with something 20,000 above, and then with the S9, it goes a little bit more pricey with 30,000 plus. So yeah, so if you plan to be first in the market in the new category, you need to think of ways in how to develop the older product into a more innovative one. So the best example is the S8 and the S9. We have a lot of things to consider. We have there the in-house. When we say the in-house, it refers to the employees or the experts within the company. But we also have the outsource. Many of the companies have the outsource, wherein they're just going to pay experts outside the company and have them design and develop the product and deliver it to them in the finished product. But we also have the hybrid. When we say the hybrid, it is the combination of the in-house and the outsource, wherein both partners are going to design and develop the product together and have it in a much more valuable product. So for example, we have there the Samsung company. So we all know that the Samsung company is the one who is going to design and develop their product. But they have their outsourced manufacturer in China who are going to manufacture their product and have it delivered to them in the finished product. And that's the time they're going to launch it in the public. So that's what we call the hybrid. We have there now the in-house, the Samsung company, the one who is in charge of design and development. We have the China manufacturer, the outsource, and both of them are together to develop the product and have it launched in public. Forecasting technologies. Technological forecasts do not necessarily mean to predict the precise form technology will take in a given application of some specific feature and date. Like any other forecasts, Their purpose is simply to help evaluate the probability and significance of various possible future developments so that managers can make better decisions. For example, mobile companies. Before, when we say phones, they are merely for phone, texting, and calling. But in today's generation, phone has evolved in a more useful way. We use phones for texting, calling, of course, browsing, internet. We also have the photography and the videos. Before, when we create videos, we do it through cameras. But now, developers have forecasted technologies and put it in a one product, which is now called the mobile phones. Alright? So technological forecasts can improve the decisions through clearer delineation of the future, technological opportunities and threats. To improve the decisions, forecasts need to provide perfect information about the future. As forecasters must predict the exact event or else he is wrong. This misconception, which would place an important demand on any forecaster, causes much of a confusion in the discussions about technological forecasting. The fact is that a technology is not a single immutable piece of hardware or bit of chemistry. It is simply knowledge. Knowledge of physical relationships, systematically applied to useful arts. The knowledge can vary continuously over time. It can range from the initial glimmerings of how a basic phenomenon can be applied to the solution of a practical problem to an end product, device, or production machine in a matured operating system.
Manufacturing and processing. Manufacturing is the production of merchandise for use or sale using labor and machines to chemical or biological or formulation in which raw materials are transformed into finished goods on a large scale. So such finished goods may be sold to other manufacturers for production of other more complex products such as aircraft, household appliance, furniture, sports equipment, or automobiles, or sold to wholesalers who in turn sell them to the retailers and who then sell them to an end users and consumers. So manufacturing process are the step through which raw materials are transformed into a final product. The manufacturing process begins with the product design and the material specification from which product is made. So these materials are then modified through manufacturing process to become the required part.
So when you say about storage, it is a planned space, usually a large commercial building for handling goods, for handling and storage of goods. So this may include raw materials for manufacturing companies, work in process, or the finished goods. The finished goods. We also have machinery spare parts, furniture, or any kind. It all depends on the nature of the business or the product of the business. The activity that took place here are the receiving of goods. So when they receiving, it's from the supplier or from the manufacturer to the warehouse or to the storage. And then the offloading of goods. So offloading it is from your warehouse or from your storage to your customers or to your business users. And we also have purchasing goods and stocking of goods. Distribution, on the other hand, is the process of making the goods available for consumption to your consumers or to your customers. So the system is this. From acquiring of goods from your manufacturers or suppliers to storing it to your warehouse, and then eventually distributing it to your customers or your consumers, making it available to them for consumption. I have prepared a video for you to be able to know the impact of storage and distribution system on your business and how it affects your business.
So by definition, electronic business or e-business is doing business on the internet, or simply called online businesses. So it's buying and selling products and services on the internet like Lazada or Zalora, servicing the customer via chat support, for example. You have marketing and advertising online. For example, Facebook. You would notice there are ads popping up when you're browsing through your Facebook, and even recruiting via JobStreet. So these are all examples of e-businesses or online businesses. But if you ask me personally, I would define e-business or electronic businesses as the new way of doing business right now. So e-businesses are particularly vulnerable to data breaches, especially because customers, when they do transactions online, they are asked for sensitive information like contact information or credit card numbers when they do purchases, for example. And hackers can get into this information. Scary, but there are countermeasures in place. So for example, we have data encryption, we have digital certificates for websites, and we have firewalls. For example, if you book a ticket online, say Cebu Pacific or PAO, you would notice when you check out and make the payment, right below the page you would see verified by VeriSign. So that's one control in place. There are a lot more in the background, but the bottom line is don't be scared. There are countermeasures in place for data security breaches. So for order and payments processing for a traditional type of business, for example, a manufacturing company, it's very straightforward. It's very linear. Say a customer places an order, the merchant takes the order and transfers that to a fulfillment division, for example, their factory. The order is invoiced via what they call accounts receivable. The order is shipped to the customer, and then the manufacturer is paid for the ordered product or the service. So it's very straightforward, but it takes a long time for the company to get paid. Now, when you look at an electronic business or an e-business, there are a lot more steps in the order and payments processing, but the business actually gets paid quicker. So when you go online, for example, if you go onto Lazada, you submit an order. During the checkout, the customer reviews the order, they make the payment, they agree to the terms and conditions, and then confirm, submit. So at this stage, the order is already pending status, which means that the payment is being processed. When the payment is received, this is just the third step, but the company is already been paid, right? So the turnaround time is very quick in payments for electronic business. And then after the payment has been received, that's when the order is invoiced. This is what sets it differently from a traditional business, because the payment is received first before the invoice, while the manufacturing company actually gets invoiced before the payment is received. After it has been invoiced, the order is processed and shipped to the client, to the customer. So in an ideal setup for a business, there's a supplier, the company itself, and the customer. To explain supply chain simply, it's the gap between these three stakeholders, or it's all the interactions, the activities, the people involved in delivering from the supplier down to the company going into the customer. So the gap between the supplier and the company would be the raw materials provider, goes into production, and then inventory management, and then the steps from the company going to the customer, or the gap between them, would say take or include the distribution, and then the product gets to the customer. So that's how to simply explain supply chain. There are a lot of ways, but I'll simplify that and give you 3 steps. So number 1, analyze your consumer. Who is your target market? Answer that question so that you can select the best possible channel partner that you can engage with. Which actually brings us to our second step, choosing the best channel partner to execute the demands of the customer and deliver the product to the customers. At this point, you may have to consider a lot of things. For example, the cost of engaging a specific company or a specific department, or the reputation of the channel partner that you're going to employ. And lastly, you have to evaluate the performance of all your channel partners. It may be cost and the quality for your suppliers, or maybe the turnaround time, or the quality check for production, or the sales for distribution partners. You have to do all this, you have to evaluate their performance so that you can determine if they're actually an asset to your company. If they are, then you may keep them. If they're a liability, then might as well get another set of channel partners. After all, it's a business, it's not charity work, so you have to make the tough decisions.